Just so you know, on on YouTube it's under a different name. On YouTube, the class is under a different name. So when you search it, it's going to be under, what was it under? Secrets to a meaningful life. Secrets to a meaningful life. That should really be what this course should be called, Secrets to a Meaningful Life. But this was the title given. You know the guy that goes to the library and he goes over to the librarian and says, "Can you please help me find the self-help books?" And she says, "That's kind of counterintuitive." So another way that this class is going to be very, very different is I am only going to be doing half the talking. This is the Lubavitcher Rebbe's guidance for leading a more purposeful life. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to have him do a lot of the talking, and people that have first-hand experience do a lot of the talking, as you'll see. This is, here we go. So, it's 11 o'clock, we could start now. Now, of course, we're very excited about this as a new course, and we're going to be talking, just to be spending the next couple weeks. And by the way, if you have friends that you want to bring to this class, to this course, you don't necessarily have to. It's not like a flow. Like the last course is a flow, and if you miss the first one or you miss the second one, you're going to fall behind in understanding what's going on. This particular course, every single lesson you'll gain just from being at that lesson in that particular area of life. So, if you have a friend that you want to bring that you think could gain something, and they could only come for one or two of the lessons, so by all means. Now, when you talk about the Rebbe's advice, so just the very fact of me being here is with the Rebbe's advice, which means the fact that all of you here are with the Rebbe's advice, right? Because otherwise Chani and I wouldn't be here. And so obviously I consider it a great honor and privilege to be able to share a deeper understanding of my spiritual mentor. But let's first understand who the Rebbe was. The Rebbe was born in Ukraine in 1902 and is universally recognized as one of the most impactful Jewish leaders of the post-Holocaust era. In 1950, upon the passing of his father-in-law, he became the seventh leader. It was a week ago, we had the 10th of Shvat. Last Shabbos was the 10th of Shvat, which is the day that is recognized as the day that he took on the leadership. Now, he was the seventh in line from those before him. And Chabad, Lubavitch, Chabad is the ideology behind Chabad, Chachma Bina Das, which means knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Lubavitch is the name of the city where Chabad was a station, where Chabad was. So that's a Chabad Lubavitch. What? Lubavitch also means the city of love, like Lev in Hebrew is a heart, right? Lubavitch, the city of love. It all started out in 770. A couple weeks ago, most of, if I said 770, most people wouldn't know what it is, but after a crazy news story, suddenly the whole world knows about 770. And the so-called tunnels in 770, the non-existent tunnels. But anyway, that's where it all started. 770 was an office building that was purchased by the previous Rebbe. It was actually a medical office. It was purchased by the previous Rebbe. And when he moved to New York, he moved to Crown Heights, and at that time there was a small shul in the early 1950s, and eventually it grew to what Chabad is today. A few thousand followers. But the truth is that it's more than that. It's not just the few thousand followers. There was recently a Pew study research that saw something about 30% of Jewish people today have had some sort of interaction with Chabad. So you're talking about a tremendous amount, and these are all people that were essentially directly affected by the Rebbe and his teachings. And perhaps it's because of these teachings that we're able to give off these messages that people are inspired by and learn from. The Rebbe also has dozens of volumes of correspondence. Today, probably over 40 volumes of correspondence. Those are just the ones that are actually published. Thousands and thousands of letters. And obviously, aside for his Torah teachings. So we're going to watch a video. We're going to start with a video. We're going to watch about 8 short videos today. So it's a good thing that we have this screen. You'll be able to see it. The first video that we're going to watch, video number 1, is a collage of noted personalities discussing the Rebbe's extraordinary leadership, skills, and Torah scholarship. You may recognize some of these people, you may not. Probably most of them you will recognize. So here we go.
It isn't only the Jewish community that values him, it's the worldwide community. And so many come here to receive his blessing.
Today, the Rebbe will be posthumously awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. A man who dedicated his life to him and others and to bringing people together. The Speaker of the House and I have been in disagreement, but there's one thing, there is at least one thing on which we do agree. That is the awarding for this medal. This award is for Democrats and Republicans, liberals, conservatives, northerners and southerners, black, white, and Hispanics. It goes all together.
I remember the 70th birthday. People say that he was too bar I rather compared him to the Maggid of Nazareth. Though he never moved, he didn't travel. The Tufber of Nazareth was the one actually who had built. The Rebbe was right. He had a vision and wisdom and knowledge and everything else, but in practical life, he was an architect. He knew whom to send where. I think Sharif himself didn't know why he was sent somewhere. He knew. The Rebbe was an architect in this respect. He knew how to build.
And therefore, I have asked for the blessings of Rabbi, our great teacher. Rabbi Schneerson is a great man in Israel. All of us respect him. All of us accept his judgment. He is a great lover of the house of Israel. He has shown his deep sentiment and love for our children. His blessings are very important to me. I do hope they will strengthen me on that very important mission I am going to fulfill during the meetings with President Carter, the President of the United States.
A unique personality. No doubt that serves as has got practical sense to the realities of the life everywhere in the world and great sensitivity for the preserving of the Jewish people.
It's interesting. This is relevant to our discussion from 2 weeks ago. Menachem Begin went to meet with President Carter in Washington, and he said that he wants to meet with the Rebbe before he goes to Washington. And that was unheard of for a president of Israel. They almost had to sneak him in. They were told no media. Of course, all the media was standing there as he arrived. And he came for a private meeting with the Rebbe. One thing I can tell you the Rebbe didn't tell him is to do that deal that he did. But anyway, it's just as far as that goes. But you see that he did come to seek the Rebbe's advice, as did Yitzchak Rabin and so many others. Elie Wiesel. You saw the video. So anyway, this is why many people, now the Rebbe obviously had a tremendous knowledge in Torah. There's 300 plus published volumes. Those are just published volumes with the Rebbe's Torah scholarship. And so many people came, rabbis, educators, heads of organizations, politicians. They all sought the Rebbe's wisdom. And they wanted to learn more. But most questions were not Torah questions or about leadership, strategy, as some came, as we saw. Most people were just regular, ordinary people, and had correspondence either in person or by letter, by phone, before email. Some of you see the story that we publish each week, the My Story. Yeah, and there's stories per people have, just mundane life, health, relationships, marriage, career, emotional health, and the list goes on. So the question is really why? What drew so many people to seek the Rebbe's counsel on these aspects of life? The question is really, you go to the Rebbe as being a Torah scholar, but why as a advice for life? You should consult with experts, a specialist. Yet people solicited the Rebbe's advice in these areas. Some of them you're going to see videos. This is a picture from the Rebbe standing at a line, what was known as the dollar line. The dollar line was where the Rebbe the Rebbe would receive people on Sunday afternoons, every single Sunday for a few years, and thousands of people came, including myself as a child and Chani as a child. There's actually a picture in our house hanging up of Chani receiving $1. And I have one, but it's not such a good picture like Chani has. And maybe I'll show you that in a different lesson. But this is what it was. Everyone coming, and everyone had the opportunity to bring about their question and to ask. And so this is what we're going to learn. We're going to take all these ideas and we're going to break them down, and we'll hopefully come out of the next 6 weeks. We'll come out with a more meaningful life, and one that we could actually have a tremendous impact, not only on ourselves, but on others that we associate with, that we connect with, that we speak to, and so on. So let us begin. Today we're going to talk about things that are associated with money, with work, with career, and retirement. So even those that say, well, I'm not working, well, it's going to be about retirement as well. So let's begin with this question. What is the Jewish view on work, career, and wealth? So you see, open up your book, page number 4. In your estimation, what is the Jewish religious view on work and career? A, it's a necessary evil that provides us the means of serving God, studying Torah, doing mitzvahs, and being kind and charitable to others. Anyone agree with that? No hands up. B, it's a part and parcel of our spiritual mission and journey. Anyone agree with that? Okay, there's hands for B. C, it's neither intrinsically positive or negative. So as long as we're honest in our business and do not allow our work career to consume our lives to the exclusion of our spiritual life. Anyone agree with that statement? Okay, some agree with that statement. 2, in your estimation, what is the Jewish religious view on affluence? A, it is encouraged. B, it's discouraged. A or B? A. All right, great. Okay. Now, as you know, whenever we talk about something here, we always try to give both sides of the story. And that's what we're going to do here today as well. We're going to give both sides of the story. Now, because we do find that historically, Jews were wary of material success. And historically, Jews were not always the wealthiest people in town, regardless of what the media wants us to think, that the Jews control all the banks and the money. It's true there were a few Rothschilds throughout history, but they were far and few. Most Jewish communities were relatively poor. Text 1a, wealth leads to memory loss. It's from Deuteronomy 32, from what's known as the Song of Hazinu. Vayishman Yeshurun Vayivat. Yeshurun, Israel grew fat and kicked, rebelled. You grew fat, thick, and rotund. Huh? Israel forsook the God who made them and spurned the rock of their salvation. 1b, a poor person speaks with supplications, a rich person replies with impudence. So, you know what we could actually do? We could go back to the old way, that having some of you read, if you want to do it like that, instead of me reading. You like me to read? Okay. All right. So, no, they tell a story of a man. He comes to his Rebbe, and he says that I had a dream, and I must speak to the Rebbe right now. So he says, okay, the rabbi needs to see her. I must speak to the rabbi right now. The rabbi needs to see her. So she comes in. She says, Rabbi, I had a dream that my son became crazy. My son became crazy. My son became a lunatic. What am I going to do? So the rabbi says, don't worry. That means that he's going to be very, very wealthy. She says, oh, thank God. And she walks out. And the gabbai turns to the rabbi and says, how did you know he's going to be wealthy? She says, because usually it goes together. So, this idea of wealth, it could be something it could be something that the Torah says you have to be very careful with it. And by the way, when we say Rebbe, there's a lot of different Rebbes. There's all types of spiritual Rebbes in the world. There's ones that are, there's the Satmar Rebbe, there's the Tzanzer Rebbe, there's the Kloisenberger Rebbe, there's all different types of Hasidim. But today it's almost universally accepted that when you say the word Rebbe, that it refers to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Just to say that. And so wealth could be something that could be very difficult. It could be having excessive wealth could lead to greed, to indulgence, to self-absorption, being arrogant, inflated sense of self-importance. These are things that come a lot of times with money, with extreme wealth. Now, we're going to now learn the Rebbe's position on wealth, which is very, very different. And his position is quite remarkable. And it was in 1958, the Rebbe went to a Shiva call. Very rarely did the Rebbe actually leave either his home or 770, which is his shul, his synagogue, and almost never did he ever go to visit other people. They always came to him. One of those rare exceptions was times that he had to pay a Shiva call, and that's because for a Shiva, the person is not supposed to leave their home. And so he went to visit them. So this particular situation, Rabbi Avram Yeshua Heschel, who is known as the Kapishnitzar Rebbe, for the leader of the Kapishnitzar Hasidic dynasty. You don't have to remember the name, it's okay. But he was going and he discussed things, and usually when two great Torah scholars come together, they're going to discuss issues of Torah. So there were some people at that meeting at the time in the Kapishnitzar's home. There were other people around by that Shiva call. And so they recorded the conversation. Text number 2. The Rebbe said, Jewish individuals need to secure financial security. And again, I'm not sure exactly the context, but it came up in the conversation. And that is important, positive, and appropriate goal in and of itself, regardless of the additional imperative to fund Torah institutions in specific locations. Financial success enables Jews to live comfortably and expansively, and that will also enable them to broaden their perspectives, for our sages taught that a beautiful home expands one's mind. And they meant that in the most literal sense, if only all Jewish people would be wealthy. Kapishnitzar Rebbe, wealth is a challenge, I fear the test that it poses. The Rebbe responds, poverty is equally a challenge. If there must be a challenge, the test of wealth is preferable over that of poverty. God will certainly help us successfully withstand the challenge. So remember, this is 1958, okay? This is a time when people were just coming over on their boats from the Holocaust. The concept of Jewish people, being extremely wealthy was not really the norm at the time. Most people were going and working 3 jobs to try and bring home some food for their families. And but the Rebbe's vision was, no, we need to have Jewish people that are wealthy, because, and he said, I understand that there is a test, but it's better to have that test than the test of poverty. And Jewish people throughout history have had the test of poverty, and he was basically saying, we're done with that. We had enough tests of poverty. The test, let's deal with the test of wealth now. Not only that, what happened was, as he was about to leave, he turned around and he said to the Kapishnitzar Rebbe, he said, I'd like for you to agree with me that Jews should be blessed with wealth. He said, I want you to agree with me. In other words, not only just listen to what I'm saying, I want you to say yes. And he said, yes. He said, I agree with you. Yes, 100%, but he's also talking about money. Obviously, Jewish people many have had great spiritual wealth, and have so many great ideas have come out. But yeah, he was also talking about money, and the idea, which we're soon going to understand why. And the idea here, just to clarify, when we're talking about these ideas, we're here when we talk about advice for life, it's to give you a different perspective. And when you have a different perspective, then automatically the advice is different. And we're going to play now a video from a story which happened on Purim 1955. This was 5 years after the Rebbe accepted leadership. Purim was always a very joyous and exciting Farbrengen. Farbrengen was a gathering. And it was always very exciting and joyous on Purim. Purim Yisrael L'chaim, it's always a very warm and exciting atmosphere. And this particular Purim, it was also of a similar atmosphere. And then the Rebbe said something that completely stunned the crowd. And we're going to see what that is now.
We'll start with Purim 1950.
Er is een minige jede zachtstelt naar goed als opstimmen. Die was eine Nacht in Moment nach Hilde. Hat der Ewigstelle von der Gern Maschine ist der Applaus. Und der Hafti, der Harabani, was und der Modachen gekommen haben, mit dem Jester Hore, oder mit Macht zu sein, soll nur eben der rechte Arm der Leberstelle.
Sitting by a Fabrengen, and the Rebbe says that anyone who wants to become wealthy, raise your hand. Now, who has the audacity that I should ask the Rebbe about Gashmias? The Rebbe is for Hochtheistic, so most of the people wouldn't have the audacity to raise their hand.
Reb Shmuel Isaac Popak was said to have raised his hand, the fact that he would never confirm or deny, although he always told the story.
6 or 7 people raised their hands, and they all became millionaires. Subsequently, I asked the Rebbe for a bracha. I had no parnasa at all, and the Rebbe told me I should go into real estate, which I did. And I told the Rebbe I had no money. The Rebbe says you don't need money to go into real estate. So through a certain maneuvering, we were able to buy 2 houses without any cash. That started us off in the real estate business, and thank God we make a living.
Make a living is an understatement for that man. He has since passed. He has since passed, but his son is a very, very, very charitable man. How many people, if you were sitting there, how many people would have raised their hands? I'm just wondering. The Rebbe talked about all of the challenges with wealth, and then he says, "Raise your hand." Well, it's easy now after you hear the after story. After you hear the after story, but at the time, I don't know if I would have raised my hand necessarily. In other words, and there's also a little piece there that I don't know if you saw. It was like sort of thrown in there where Rebbe was telling someone afterwards. He said, "You had an opportunity, and then people come and complain that they want money. You had an opportunity here, but look, out of the whole crowd of a few hundred people sitting there, 6 or 7 people raised their hand." Right? So anyway, that was the story, huh?
Why wouldn't you raise your hand?
Because the whole talk was about all the challenges of being wealthy and how. I understand. This is the story. This is the story of what it was. No, it was like I'm going to ask to be wealthy. I'm going to ask to be wealthy. Is it appropriate for a chassid to ask to be wealthy? Now it's easy to say why not after you hear the second side of the story. But at the time, anyway, that's the story. So let's continue on. The difference here is the Rebbe's approach on wealth. We have to zoom out a little and appreciate his perspective on wealth and on work in general. When you talk about work and you talk about being involved in a career or doing things or being involved in activities in life, so society tends to look at it as a necessary evil motivated by need. In other words, that I have to support my family, I have some life aspirations that I want to get to, I want to go travel the world, I want to save for retirement, whatever it is that I want to do. So it's a means to the end to get there. And the way to get there is by getting a job so that I'll be able to fill up my bank account, so I'll be able to do what I want to do. And this is generally the perspective. If that wasn't the perspective, the villages would be out of business, as I'll soon explain why. The Rebbe looked at everything through a completely different lens. The Rebbe said every part of life is purposeful, including one's career. In other words, it's not just that I'm working for a means to an end, but the work itself has a purpose. It has an achievement. This is irrespective of the person's line of work. So, one of the most foundational ideas of Chabad Hasidus is the idea that we've discussed many times in the past, which is that the ultimate purpose of us being in this world is to make a divine dwelling place in this world. Remember, we talked about this many times, that it's not only that we're here in order to survive life, but we're here because we have to make what's called a dir b'tachtonim. We have to make a place, a dwelling place for God in this world. Each and every one in their place is part of that. And the idea is to bring God into the material, physical world itself. Not only the spiritual world. Otherwise, we could sit in synagogue all day and meditate and contemplate, and that would be life. But the purpose of life is that we have to bring holiness into the mundane. And what does it mean, bring holiness into the mundane? It's about recognizing that everything that happens in our physical life is with a divine purpose.
Question. So someone who is working just to make ends meet, can they make that a divine purpose?
Let's finish this thought, and then we'll get back to that question. By the way, all these videos and everything are available online as well, so you'll be able to see them after the class. And to say, take for example, the Torah tells us that 6 days a week you shall work, and on the seventh day you shall rest. Or we have the idea of the Shemitah. 6 years you shall work, and the seventh year shall be a year of rest. What is the idea? The Torah is telling us that you have to work to come to rest. If Shabbos is so holy, then every day should be Shabbos. No. The Torah tells you you have to work and then come to the rest. The working is part of that spiritual activity. Let's take a look at text number 3. The Torah's perspective on Jewish life is puzzling. It informs us that God chose us from the rest of humanity and spiritually elevated us from regular people. That creates the impression that we must spend the majority of our time in sacred pursuits, studying Torah, performing mitzvahs, and worshiping the tabernacle, and later in the Jerusalem temple. Why then does the Torah itself establish that the majority of a Jewish individual's life is to be devoted to material pursuits, in which there is no distinction between a Jew and anyone else? The explanation is that the purpose for which God created the world is that God desired that we actively turn this material world, with all its corporeality and material coarseness, into a dwelling for God Himself, through serving God in this world in accordance with the Torah that He gave us. To achieve that, the majority and the main thrust of our daily service of God is not strictly spiritual activities. After all, our spiritual activities are comparable to the divine service performed by souls before they enter the world and after their return to heaven. Rather, we spend most of our time specifically on interaction with materiality. Therefore, the Torah emphasizes, for 6 years you shall sow your field. The idea is to bring sanctity and divinity down into our fields, the coarse realm of materiality, so as to turn our material and corporeal world into a home for God. So if it was just to seclude ourselves, then you can go and pray in synagogue, you could go and climb Mount Everest and meditate on top of the mountain, and that could be the whole life. But no, that's not the purpose. The purpose is to have a life, to to build a family, to build a business, to build a community. And the ultimate goal is to be ethical, holy, and spiritual person governed by the ethics and values in the workplace or career. And so those, despite the hustle and bustle and pressures of the office or life, or this is true the same about about the golf course or the mahjong class, whatever gathering, or whatever it is, everything has to be infused with our meaning and purpose of life. In other words, there has to be something higher and loftier than just using it for a means of something else, but that this itself has something holy within it. And so this is true about everything. Bringing holiness and Torah values into the workplace is the ultimate purpose of creation. Now, what is actually that purpose that you're asking? So what is the purpose if you're saying I'm just trying to make ends meet? So what ultimately is the purpose? So let's begin with the career. What is the purpose of the career? So we're going to say a few things. The first thing is making a difference. It provides a unique opportunity to have a positive influence on others. Let's take a look at text number 4, page number 10. My grandfather, Rabbi Shmuel Lubavitch, the fourth Chabad Rebbe, had a close follower named Elia Abeler, who in terms of scholarship and aptitude was a simple fellow. In one of Elia's private audiences with my grandfather, he was told, Elia, I envy you. You travel to various spheres where you meet many people. In the middle of a business transaction, you get into a spirited discussion over a Torah insight. Something inspirational you recall from the public Ein Yaakov class that retells the stories and ethical teachings from the Talmud. When you do that, you arouse the other person's interest in studying Torah. This activity causes much joy on high. God rewards such trade with the blessing of children, health, and sustenance. The larger the fare, the more work there is, and the greater the livelihood earned. So this is the first thing. The first thing is that you could use it for something holy. I always think about my father, so Lange Yoren, that he's a doctor. He's a medical doctor. He's a radiologist. And he worked for many, many years. He's still working part-time. And during his time, he was able to meet many of the other doctors. He would always make a celebration for Hanukkah or for Purim for all the other doctors. He would be able to visit some of the patients in the hospital. He was able to bring about dozens and dozens of Russian children who arrived from the Soviet Union who didn't have a bris. He was able to arrange them to get a bris. He didn't do it, but he was able to get a mohel to do a bris for them. And just because he was in this particular field, in the medical field. Now we're going to watch two interesting stories. One is from a guy named Moshe Rappaport who worked at IBM, and the other is from Meir Zeiler. Two very interesting stories.
I just started a new job in IBM, and my Tavis comes along, and the Rebbe says on that day that everybody should do like a shliach. I didn't know what did the Rebbe mean, everybody should do a shliach. Maybe it means that I gotta quit my job and like start becoming a campus shliach or something like that. I wrote into the Rebbe, should I give up my job for IBM? What is it that the Rebbe wants? The Rebbe underlines it on the answer with a big, just one word answer. Lama. Why do you have to give up your job in IBM? I want you to stay in those things and be my shliach.
Madisha mitzad gever kimono, as hu kommt und was amay mit Masse kommt, soll dort Schnee von den Nebesten, soll dort machen, dass sie mal Leben als sein Schake, wie wir Schachanti beseichen, ohne dich. In seine eigene Dalle Dame ist der noch live, al Pesach Beis Nibachut.
And that was what I ended up doing. I stayed in IBM. I had a very, very career.
So if you would give a warm round of applause for Mr. Moshe Rappaport from IBM.
Well, I felt all the time that I was doing shlichus. In other words, I would make speeches all over the world. Your desktop or on your wall, or you're going to be wearing, and so on, that are AI driven. But the real, all through my career, I would write to the Rebbe what was going on, what I was doing. Secure. How are we going to manage the access control? Top people, CEOs, politicians, famous journalists from all over the world came to find out what I was doing in research. And I got to meet all these people with my yarmulke, with my beard, and so on and so forth. The Jewish people came over to me. I was actually a shliach in that sense.
You certainly know that now Hong Kong is a visiting place for many Jews from several countries. And then you can influence the Jews, they visit in Hong Kong, when they are returning to their homes, they will bring with them a vision of Yerushalayim. And that could be your business also.
יש לי מקרבן א' גדול, בברכתו מלפני שנתיים במצב שכבוד הסוכר לי ישנה, שקיבלתי ממנו, קיבלנו עבודה גדולה מאוד, $2 מיליון, בארצות הברית, חודש אחרי המכתב. חודש אחרי קבלת המכתב, קיבלנו את העבודה הכי גדולה בחיינו, מהצבא האמריקאי.
זו התחלה גדולה. ואז יש ככה
והרבה עובדים שלי שלא היו יראי שמיים, שזה קרה, חתכו תשובה. וזה הודות לכבוד הרב.
העורך והוסיף עוד יותר, כאילו שמיים שלו, כאילו שכוח יירו ויעשו כמך על כל פנים החתים.
Major exhibition that we exhibited at was in Brussels. It was a major upholstery fabric international exhibition. Part of our display was knowing that if a Jew came in there, he knew he would get caught and he asked me if he could put on film. The exhibition is going to be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Rosh Hashanah was coming out Monday night. They're coming for one half a day, a Monday exhibition. It's a little bit crazy. On the other hand, I knew the Rebbe wanted, we should always be at the exhibition. So, we're going. Rabbi Chadakov let me know that the Rebbe suggested that we put up a sign at the beginning of the show that due to the Sabbath, we're going to be closed on Friday 2:30. So the customers, they'll know in the beginning of the show they should come into you right away. At about 1:30, suddenly I see a gentleman walking up and down past our stand where there's thousands of people walking. But I see he keeps looking at the sign and he's asking, tell me, what is this closing the Sabbath? It's an international exhibition. What's this closing Rosh Hashanah? I said, where are you from, sir? He said, ich bin a Polish. I said, sorry, dealing with a Jew. I said, how about putting on film? He looks at me like I went crazy. He said, who believes in all of this? I don't believe in God, I don't believe in it. He says, ich bin durchgegangen Hitler. I went through Hitler. I never put on film, he says. I said, my friend, I understand you 100%. Once in your lifetime, you didn't have a bar mitzvah, he said. You'll be able to say, you're right, God wasn't right to you, and you had a bar mitzvah. He took off his jacket, and we put him on film. The minute he said Shema Yisrael, he broke down and started crying. He says, ich kenne dich, he was holding us out, ich kenne dich. And he sat down, and he didn't know what to do, how to thank us. You can imagine how we felt. Business, we didn't do that much, but we knew what we came for, and we knew we were going to have a good year.
Another interesting story, which is not on video, maybe I'll get the video for next week. My great uncle, who was a U.S. Senator to Nevada, and the Rebbe had asked him to do something to help get Jews out of Russia, and after he spoke to him, he said that you're in the Senate, so you're able to do this thing. But I am not in the Senate, so I don't have the ability to do that. In other words, the Rebbe was telling him that the fact that you were put in the Senate means that you have this specific mission because you were put in the Senate at this time. Okay, so this is number one. Bringing holiness and Torah values into the workplace exemplifies the ultimate purpose of creation. And number two, the workplace affords us unique opportunities to inspire others to be better people and better Jewish people, right? It's not only for Jewish people, it's for all people. You have to teach them to follow the ways, to follow the Noahide laws, as we call them, the 7 Noahide laws, to be a good person, to have a better world. And when you have when a rabbi says something, okay, it's a rabbi, but if you're a CEO or an engineer or a doctor or a professor, it's already a different story. I'll listen to a rabbi, fine, I'm not going to listen to. But if you have a title, then I'll listen to you. There were certain people that told the Rebbe that they want to go to yeshiva. So the Rebbe said, you should go and stay in college so that you could get an extra suffix after your name, because then people will respect you more. Okay, then is the last aspect of it is your job to give, which is that when we work, we make money, then we're able to help, we're able to give, make a living, and a means to give to others, emulating our Creator. Text number 5. Mi kamcha ki Yisrael go'echad ba'aretz. Who is like you people? Who is like your people Israel, one unique nation on earth? The implication is that even while they engage in mundane matters on earth, they do not separate themselves from the true one. So this is a sort of a play on words. That it's a one nation, which means we're one nation, right? But it's also saying that we're the nation of one, meaning that we're a nation that is always connected to the true one. It is therefore appropriate that we do not perform all of our mundane engagements for material ends, but rather in order to bring sustenance to other souls, pieces of godliness, and supply them with that which they lack out of gratuitous kindness towards them. In doing so, we resemble our Creator, the one God, for God performs free kindnesses at all times. And His kindness is true, not for recompense. And that he animates the universe and all its contents every single moment. So what is he saying over here? He's saying that the Rebbe's philosophy and outlook is that our spiritual and mundane identities is one which is part and parcel with our with our spiritual. So it's not just that we're doing it for some. It's not number one. The work itself could bring about the positive things, but then also even that which is coming out of it, the paycheck that's coming out of it, we could use in order to help others and to be there for others. And just like God is the one that gives. God is one of kindness. We too are that of kindness. God gives, and so do we. And in order to give, we need to earn money. And that is the way that we are able to affect as well. There is one particular chassid named Rabbi Yecheskel Springer. He lived in the town of Kfar Chabad, where my mother-in-law comes from. Chani's mother comes from that town. And in the earlier years, 60s, 70s, today, it's basically an urban town, but back in the day, it was a little farm town. And so the early Hasidim who came there, they were farmers. So there was one particular man, Rabbi Yecheskel Springer. He had a farm, and I think it was a chicken farm or something like that. And he had an opportunity to expand his business. Israel was growing, and so they needed more of his, for what he was providing. And so he had an opportunity to expand his business. And he wrote to the Rebbe saying that if I do so, it's going to take more of my time, more of my energy, more of my effort, and I won't be able to focus on my studies and my prayers. So the Rebbe said like this, text number 6. Your question whether it's appropriate for you to desire to further expand your income, that question has already been answered. 10% of one's earnings must be given to charity, and ideally, for those who wish to step beyond the basic requirement and enhance their observance, 20%. In fact, Rabbi Shneur Zalman Liadi explains that it is appropriate to give even more than that. This is especially relevant now that the instructions that require our charitable support require expansion, and therefore their financial needs are constantly growing as well. Consequently, additional charity is required, and that demands greater income. So in order to give more, we have to have more. And even if we're not working, well, there's other funds that are making money. Money in the market is growing. You have to give 10% to that at least. This is a story from Mr. David Mintz. And I actually will bring a sample. This is called Tofudi. Tofudi, you ever heard of this? Tofudi. This you could buy locally here in Publix. Tofu cream cheese, correct. This has been around for years. They make tofu. They have Tofudi ice cream, sour cream, all kinds of things. And I happen to have had one sitting in my fridge. I said I'll bring it out for a live sample of what we're about to see. This is the Tofudi. Mr. Mintz, we're going to hear about his ice cream company, ice cream and cream cheese company.
Was wird die Richtungste oder die Ansicht?
Das ist erst umständlich, das muss es beginnen. Ich sage, so ist es so eine Company, die Menschen, wo ich sage, das kann wachsen, wo andere Menschen rein, das haben wir Geld.
Das war eine gute Sache, was habt ihr
Nicht.
Nee, das hat manche die Idee, die kommt jetzt schon auf den Papier. Aber eben die Geld, die verkaufen wird, das die Westen lieber in die Scherze. Aber mit Apfel sein weiter aktiv, wie die Menschen, auf der Gelder, ja, aber ich sehe, muss als Namsche sein. Sie will Parteipapier macht mit Tees, aber mit das Meier, die so technisch, die so bleiben verhalten, so das Verstaffen unterbrechen.
I mean, just that conversation is fascinating because you think about it. Here you have a successful businessman, and he's coming to the Rebbe for business advice. He's not asking him a Torah question. He's asking business advice. What should I do with my company? And obviously he followed it, which is why this is still around. But also just to think about, this was way before the whole non-dairy market was a big thing. And think about if he would have sold and he would have looked 20, 30 years down the line and saw how big the non-dairy market is, and to think to himself that he was one that was in the pioneers of that market and seeing what it expanded to. But and so everything that we have is all in order to serve Hashem. And so the third aspect of it is the greater our earnings, the more we can give towards charitable causes. And so if we have our earnings, whatever that earnings is, be it in our business, be it in the market, whatever it is, to be able to give tzedakah, and that way Hashem gives blessings many, many times over. And finally, the question with regards to retirement. As I said, the villagers may not like this, but the truth of the matter is, as we'll learn about this, we'll see that even those who are in a retirement stage can take lessons from everything. And if you're not actually working, we're all doing things with our lives in different ways. We're coming across different people. We're involved in different projects. We're doing things, so even though we may be retired from our career, but we're still working in many different ways. And all these lessons we could heed them and take lesson from everything that we're learning in whatever it is. As I said before, if it means with your golf course or your mahjong, all these things have this positive way. That's how mahjong and challah came about. So let's take a look. Exercise 1.2. What do you consider the optimal age for retirement? 41 to 50, 51 to 60, 61 to 70, post 70. I'm not going to ask you your age. As of 2021, the average retirement age in the United States was 65 for men and 62 for women. Now think about that for a moment, because most people live till the late 70s, 80, a lot of people live till 90. So that means for retirement is, for an average person, about 20 years, some for 30 years. That's a long time. But the real question is, what does retirement mean? Now we're going to look at the Rebbe's approach to retirement. You could probably already guess what it is. This is a video from a talk that the Rebbe gave for his 70th birthday. 70th birthday. And what he did was, I'm sorry, this video is a number of people that wanted to retire. We'll get to the 70th birthday in a minute. We'll first look at this video. So,
Moses never retired.
Exactly true. Moses never retired. And the Rebbe never retired. So it was in 1972, he had a gathering for his 70th birthday. And he said then that many people are giving advice, well-meaning admirers, that it's time to retire. And and he said, instead, I'm going to increase the workload. And in honor of going into my 71st year, I want to bring about 71 new institutions. So this is about his birthday for his 70th his birthday, he said, I want to have 71 new institutions. Now, Chabad, it's not like it today. Today, if he would say 71 new institutions, you have it probably in a day. Back then, Chabad, the entire Chabad maybe had 150, maybe 200 institutions. So, say 71 institutions, that was a tremendous, tremendous growth. So, I don't know exactly. There's roughly about 5,500 shluchim. It's about 4,000 institutions, something like that.
So you've made enough money in the business to be able to retire, but you see an absolute need for Jewishness in this direction by changing careers from earning money to benefiting godliness.
Right. Yes. Yes. So you have a good point. I mean, obviously, you could say, I don't know if I'm talking to the right crowd, but what you're saying is correct. In other words, retire not necessarily means that you're doing the exact same thing your whole life. Retiring means that you're continuing to work. Or not retiring means you're continuing to work. That you're not just sitting back and relaxing, but you're continuing to work, and you recognize that you continually have a purpose in the place that you're serving, in whatever area in life God takes you. And so, yes, you may be retiring from a specific career, from a specific line of work. We're starting here a new program. It's called Hometown Heroes. And the idea is for people to share some wisdom and experience that they've had in the past, to be able to share that others could learn from as well.
Isn't retiring a choice to some extent?
The-
People that love to work,
should it-
they never retire.
But the question is, should that be a choice that you should make? Everything is a choice. You can say that about anything. The question is it a choice that should be made? So as I said, obviously, sitting here and talking in the villages about not retiring, won't phase off well. But the concept is the same. This is what I want you to understand. The concept is the same. The idea that just now is my moment to sit back and just enjoy life is not something that the Rebbe was in favor of. The idea was, God gave you another day, so you could accomplish another thing today. That you have something else that you could bring to the world today.
That's why we're here, because we want to, even though we're
100%. So that's why we're sharing. That's why I'm trying to share this with you. Okay. So, if one fulfills that life's purpose through their career, retirement would be absolving oneself from that purpose. So, a business person's role is to use their position to bring holiness and Torah values into their workplace. Talking about my father before, he had actually officially retired from his position. He moved to Israel, and then circumstances had brought him back, and he went back to work. And he was rehired very, very quickly, albeit not full time, but still there. And so, you do what you got to do in life. Okay, now we'll take it a step further. We're going to call this spiritual secrets to material success. Spiritual secrets to material success. If we follow these ideas, then we will have a different life materially. Because you see, most people, when we think about material life, we think about what do I need? What do I need? And now let me fill that void of what I need. So if I need to so-and-so, if I need this, I need that, that is typically the way most people look at life. What are my needs in life? But now we see that it's not about what I need. It's about what am I needed for. What am I needed for? It's a completely different message. And when your message in life is, what am I needed for? Now, everything that I do has different meaning. Every interaction is different. You know, mistakes in life or accidents are not accidents. They were meant to be for something to come out of it that's good. I had just this past Thursday, I went to meet someone. I had scheduled to meet her in her home at this and this time. It was somewhat of a nice drive out there. I went there, knocked on the door, she wasn't home. So I called her up, what's going on? Oh, I thought you would call me in the morning to confirm. So I ended up going to this and this place, and I'm with so-and-so. I said, okay, you know what? That's a person I also want to meet. Let me come meet both of you guys. And that's what happened. I met this other person who I hadn't seen in years. Again, I'm not going to go into the details, but it's someone who I haven't seen in years, who I actually wanted to meet for a long time. And I was able to meet both of them. So, you know, some people could say, it's messed up, forget about it. Or you could say, no, it was actually meant to be that we should meet both of these people at this time. So when we look at everything in life in that way, then everything is different. Let's take a look at text number 7. And this is going to focus on the idea of having faith. And if faith is itself a catalyst for blessing. Text 7, I received your letter in which you write about your anxiety in regards to your question of parnasa, livelihood. You surely know how often our sages have impressed on us the importance of trust and confidence in God, in order that we realize that all difficulties encountered in life are only trials and tests of a passing nature. To be sure, the question of parnasa is one of the most difficult tests. Nevertheless, God does not subject one to greater tests than he can withstand. As our rabbis expressed it, according to the camel, so with its load. The very trust in God is a vessel and channel to receive God's blessing, apart from the fact that such confidence is good for one's health and disposition, and therefore is a natural means to the desired end. So we're saying is, number one, the first spiritual secret to material success is to have faith. When you have faith, there's nothing that is going wrong. Everything is meant to be, and God is going to take care of everything in the right way, in the right time. And so the fact that things don't seem right, the market took a plunge, things are not in, things don't seem to be working out in the right way. The first thing is to have the proper faith. And the proper faith leads us in the right way. So this is the first thing. Another aspect of blessing, and this is for those that have businesses. It's interesting that, which is with regards to Shabbos, to keeping Shabbos properly. We talked before where the Torah says, you shall work for 6 days, and the seventh day you shall rest. If you want to have the blessing for the 6 days, then you shall rest. To closing a business on Shabbos could hurt profits, and understandable. Many industries, especially retail, Saturday is a big business day. And closing one store or business could be an immense sacrifice. But by doing so, that itself brings the divine blessings. And if the spiritual and material are two sides of the same coin, then it's not that I am sacrificing my business for Shabbos. Rather, closing on Shabbos is part of my business plan. That's part of what I'm doing. My business is one which is closed on Shabbos. You have the famous store in Midtown Manhattan. What's it called? B&H. B&H, that's right. B&H Photo. What's their tagline? Open every day except for Friday night and Saturday. Right? You know, it's owned by Orthodox Jews. Imagine this is the largest camera store in New York City, and one of the largest in the world. Did they close down? I don't know. I don't think so. They're still open. Yeah. And if you listen to their ads on the radio, if you're ever in New York City, open every day except for Friday night and Saturday. And think about it. If they were open, how much more business would they get on a Saturday in the middle of Manhattan? But this is their business model. Our business model is we're open every day except for Friday night and Saturday. So, okay. Text number 8. It is clear to the unbiased mind that even to plain common sense that the Almighty, who is the giver of the Torah and mitzvahs, is also the creator and master of the world, whose benevolent providence extends to everyone individually. It is also equally obvious that no lasting good can come from breaking God's laws, especially such a fundamental law as Shabbat observance. For the important thing is not how much money a person earns, but that he should be able to spend it in good health and on happy things, which is entirely in the hands of God. In view of the above, it is quite clear that your attitude of businessman in question should be, even if there were no other immediate business proposition, for it is necessary without delay to give up the kind of business that interferes with Shabbat observance, with the full confidence that he who feeds and sustains 3 billion people and all living things will also be able to take care of the individual and his family and provide him with a source of parnasa, livelihood, which should not be in conflict with the will of God. So what's saying over here is that God could provide everything. And you say, well, I'm actually going to have more money in my bank account. So the Rebbe is pointing out here in this letter that more money in your bank account doesn't mean that your life will be better. That money may have to be spent on doctor's bills or other things that you don't want to spend it on. So just because there's more money technically, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's better for your life. Let's take a look at another video regarding keeping open on Shabbos.
I started a store, clothing store in downtown Los Angeles, 3,000 square feet store. I really seriously was saying myself, like, I want to close the store on Shabbos. I don't want to work on Shabbos. But it was difficult to think like this because most of the business is doing on Shabbos. There was some Shabbos I used to sell $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 on Shabbos. During the week, barely I can sell $100, $150. Now the contract, the lease I have, I was obligated. 20 years lease. The owner, he warning me in the beginning, if you ever was thinking to leave this lease, I'm going to run after you to the rest of your life. I'm not going to let you go out. So I wrote to the Rebbe, told them, Rebbe, I decided to close my store on Shabbos. I would like to have a blessing. I should not get hurt. I'm getting a letter, and in the envelope I open, I see $18, and then it says, 1. מתחיל מקודם שקיעת החמה וגדול הזכות. 2. להפיץ את התורה מתוך שמחה. 3. לתת צדקה שמה, to give tzedakah at the money will be given. The next day I say I'm going to go to the landlord and I'm going to give him the lease, and the landlord was not there. I came back to my store. There is a guy walking to my store. He wants to buy the store, he's telling me. So I told him, go to the landlord. He's telling me, I was with the landlord. I said, what the landlord told you? He said, you're holding the lease, אתה מחזיק את החוזה. He took a checkbook and he wrote me a nice check. Just to tell you, this check, I bought a house and I started manufacturing. And I remember going to the Rebbe, and on Sunday I told the Rebbe, I got a miracle with the store. The Rebbe was laughing and he went like this on my mouth, like, don't talk about this.
נסגור בשבת לשבת. אנחנו צריכים בחרת.
בשביל השבת מיום טוב.
יום טוב.
גם.
שבת ויום טוב סגור.
Very much is necessary para ter todo o casal, para ser sabidos da autora, os natos, favores, os caras que irei, não cansado, melhor, mas responsabilidade subordinada.
I started my practice on Dulles Avenue, and things looked very bleak. wasn't going anywhere. I remember having a friend. I happened to have mentioned to him that I was having some problems. This young man suggested that the Rebbe would be able to help me. And I made an appointment with the Rebbe. I started to tell him I wasn't doing well here in Brooklyn and I was able to find a place in Bayside. I was going to be starting an office there. He said, do you work on Shabbos? And I said, yes, I do. And he says, now you're going to a new place. He says, you're moving. Perhaps you want to think about not working on Shabbos. It became known that Dr. Walensky doesn't work on Saturday. And it was unheard of. Dr. Walensky goes to a shul. I was very successful financially, very successful. Even in the way I lived my life, I felt more satisfied, more ease, very satisfied with being Jewish.
So we have two things so far, advice for life. Number one, to strengthen our faith. Number two, keeping Shabbos more. And another thing is to make sure that we have time for Torah study. To set times for Torah study. There's a mitzvah to study Torah daily. Even if we have a demanding job, to use every opportunity to study more Torah. Text number 9. This was a talk in 1990 to the supporters of the Machane Israel Development Fund. Some of those videos that you saw, where you saw the individuals coming and they were wearing like a tag, like a white tag on their jacket, that was from a meeting called the Machane Israel Development Fund meeting, where the Rebbe would meet with supporters of Chabad twice a year, right before Pesach and right before Yom Kippur, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And this was a talk from one of those meetings in 1990. Text number 9. A businessman should dedicate a portion of their time each day to Torah study. Although this eats into the time that is usually dedicated to work, not only will the study not detract from their overall success, but to the contrary, Torah study clears and refines the mind to be able to make better business decisions with greater clarity and efficiency. It calms the spirit, leading to greater success in business and greater happiness in life. This phenomenon is expressed clearly in the Torah itself. If you go in my way and fulfill my commandments, I'll provide rain in its optimal time. When we dedicate time for Torah study, we are guaranteed divine blessings for success in a way that is optimal without stress or worry. So this is another thing, number 3, to try and have time for Torah study. And today, as I always say, today it's easier than ever to have Torah study. You could literally pick it up on your cell phone. You have so many classes, including my classes on YouTube and many, many others. You can even go to the podcast. There's a podcast on Torah study that you could find on websites, TorahCafe.com. And of course, you can find many books online today, many Torah books. You have a website called Sefaria, which has a full library of all Jewish books. So there's never an excuse today to say that I can't study. You could download the Chabad.org app called the Daily Study app, and it's a daily study of Chumash, of Tehillim, the portion of Tehillim, the daily portion of Tanya, daily portion of Rambam, Maimonides. We could study every single day, so there's never an excuse not to study. And finally, the idea of giving charity. Although we believe in the value of giving charity, sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes we may have a limited amount to give, and we feel like we're sacrificing our earnings in order to give. By the Jewish tradition, it should never take away. And as the prophet says, the prophet Malachi says, I'm going to read the translation of it, bring the whole of the tithes into the treasury so that there may be nourishment in my house. And test me now with this, says the Lord of hosts, to see if I will not open for you windows of heaven and pour down for you blessing until there will be no room to suffice for it. So God is saying that when it comes to the idea of charity, of tzedakah, you could test me, God says. Nothing else does God say, test me on this, let's see. When it comes to the tzedakah, God says, test me on this, and you'll see if I'm going to pay you back for what you're going to give. And so the Rebbe would often emphasize this idea, and as we said before, giving at least 1/10 of your earnings to tzedakah, and it's for one's own material benefits as well, not only spiritually. And by giving, we're dedicating a percentage. Then we are becoming a partner with God in our business, because what we're doing is we are saying that by giving away the 10 or 20%, whatever it is that we're making, we're saying that God is our partner. God is a 20% partner in our business, which really means it's a 100% partner in our business, because we are recognizing that this is part of who I am, this is part of what the business is. It's not my business. It's one that I'm doing as a partnership with God by dedicating that amount to tzedakah. Text number 10. I hope that from now on, you will realize more fully and confidently that God is your partner in your business, by virtue of the tzedakah charity's stake in it. And of course, the larger the share of the tzedakah, the larger the share of the partnership, so you can go boldly ahead on a broader front. I hope to hear good news from you. Now, some people even have a separate account that they call a tzedakah account, or whenever they get a paycheck or whatever it is, whenever they're getting funds that come in, whatever way it is. If they're retirement funds, you could have you have the amount that's coming out of there, the what's it called, the mandatory distribution, or whatever it is, however funds are coming in, and they actually take right away 10% and put it into a different account so that you know that that's going to go to tzedakah. I'm not saying that you need to do that, but that's a thing that some people do. But the idea is to be a champion for charity, to setting aside at least 1/10 the net profits for charity, and to give, and that way you're actually making God a partner in everything that we do in life. And here is another video on that.
You put it in your business and arrange to have at least 10% given because the net income of the business to charity. Thank you. You are very much blessed and good news that it goes in the business. Thank you. You are
לפיכך להתבסס על משהו מאוד חשוב לשלמות המשפחה, להצלחה של המשפחה. אני מבקש לברכך. ההמצאה היא המצאה מאוד חשובה ויחידה בעולם. בשטח האלקטרוניקה. אחסון של מידע מחשבים דרך הטלפון. זו ההמצאה היחידה בעולם.
להגיד הצלחה רבה בשורות טובות. צריך להכיר, לאשר שתהיה צדקה 10% בערך הנג'י. זה ברכה להצלחה. ברכה לה.
כן, בדיוק.
Yeah.
I noticed that the Rebbe was giving bills to people who asked for blessings.
Right.
Number one, what were the bills? Dollar bills?
It was dollar bills, yes.
Okay, where were those coming from? They looked like they were random minted bills.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about that for a moment. Yeah. The Rebbe always said that, the Rebbe always believed in the idea that it's not only about talking about things, but he actually wanted to bring it down into action. He always said the first thing you have to bring it down into action. And so his message was, I'm not just gonna tell you to do a good deed, I'm actually going to give you this dollar, and I want you to do it. He was giving it to people not as a gift of $1. He's giving it to them to give to tzedakah. Because he said that when two people come together, that's two souls coming together, that it should benefit a third. That's an old Hasidic saying. When two people come together, there's two souls coming together that should benefit a third. So the idea of giving the dollar was that you should take the dollar and give that dollar to tzedakah. Most people wanted to keep the dollar, so you give its value to tzedakah. But I have some of those dollars still. But the idea is that he was encouraging people not only by telling them to give tzedakah, but by actually doing an action that affects that. And that was the idea of the dollars. Where did the dollars come from? There were certain donors who privately would go to the Rebbe and would bring it over to them. Some of those donors we know, some of them we don't even know who they were. You're talking about on an average Sunday, $5,000, $10,000 on an average Sunday. So it's a lot of dollars going by. Yeah.
When we went on the Chabad trip last year to Israel and North, we were given $1.
Right. So that's a similar idea. The idea of that dollar, that wasn't $1 from the Rebbe. That was the idea. That idea was, it's called shliach mitzvah, a emissary for a mitzvah. That when someone travels, you give them $1, and you're making an emissary to do a mitzvah, to give tzedakah where they are, and because it says that someone who's an emissary of a mitzvah is not going to get harmed. So if you're traveling somewhere, then you don't get harmed by your telling them to give tzedakah. So, last but not least, more than giving tzedakah, the Rebbe actually wanted that you should make it as a full-time fixture in your life. So you actually say you should install charity boxes in your workplace and in your home, which we're going to talk about in a future class. And so many people, when the Rebbe was looking for a blessing for their business or home or anything, the Rebbe would say, take a tzedakah pushka and put it there and bring it into the home, which is why we always have tzedakah boxes available. You should actually have one in your home. But you actually say you should affix it to the wall. You should get one. You can get tzedakah box. You could actually affix to the wall. That one that's there is supposed to be affixed, but it's not. The big brown box. It actually has things to attach it, but it was never attached. But it was built in a way that it could be attached to the wall. And the idea is, number one, that it can ensure that the tzedakah is a fixture of the home. That you're saying this is a home of tzedakah. That this is a place where we give tzedakah, and that brings a heightened level of holiness to the home. Number two, it encourages other people to give as well. That other people, when they see the tzedakah box, they say, oh, I should also give. Number three, it's a Jewish symbol. The tzedakah box is a Jewish symbol. And number four, it anchors your priorities as a person and a businessman about what your primary responsibility to your Jewish identity and heritage is. And also, this way you're giving every day. That it's not just something that you are, that you're sort of living by in theory, but when you go and you give even a few coins every day, you're living by, you're changing your nature. This becomes part of my nature, that I'm someone that gives tzedakah every day. And it's not just about writing a check once a year, but it's about constantly giving tzedakah, that actually makes who we are. So we learned many lessons for today. There's one more video that we're going to close off with, but before we get to that video, I just want to say, look, there's a lot of lessons for life, and maybe it's difficult to take on everything at once. But the idea is that hopefully you'll be able to take on some sort of message to be able to make our life more meaningful, to change the way not only we do things, but to change the way we perceive things, and through that, changing, being able to appreciate everything that we do in a more positive way. If anybody, again, I have one more video to show, but before I show this video, I want to say that if you go to myjli.com/Rebbe, R-E-B-B-E, you can see all the videos and slideshows, and you can share it with others as well to watch.
Rivka Blau is the daughter of Rabbi Mordechai Pinchas Tice, a prominent rabbinic activist and chief rabbi of she was vice president of Yavna, one of the first Orthodox student organizations on American college campuses.
Our mission statement was that we wanted to promote Jewish learning and Jewish observance on campus, and that we wanted to, I don't know the exact wording, but that we wanted to enable people who want to know more about their Jewishness to find out, but we really had to know more if we were going to be that kind of a presence on campus. It was essentially Jewish learning, Jewish observance, and not to feel so alone. And that if people wanted to learn more, we would be available to help them. Those were pretty much that was the essence of the mission statement. And at that time, we already had, I think, between 13 and 15 college groups involved. And we also had isolated students in different places. At Rutgers, we had 3 or 4 students. At the University of Pennsylvania, we had some students. Now, at that time, the Lubavitch Rebbe had a representative who would come to Columbia who got friendly with the president of Yavnet, Joel Levine. And this young man, his last name was Feller, told Joel and me, well, actually he told Joel first, and then Joel told me, that he wanted to meet with 2 officers of Yavnet and to talk to us about how we had gotten started and what we were doing. Our appointment was for 10 o'clock at night, so we came to 770 Eastern Parkway at 10 o'clock at night, and we were asked to come in to see the Rebbe at 12 o'clock. And he asked us many detailed questions about how we had started, how we had found each other, what we were finding on campus, what were the problems, what were the possibilities, what opportunity was there for people who are interested in finding more about their Jewishness, how can we reach them, what do we find worked well, what do we find, what we found did not work. Very, very to the point questions. At the end he said, well, I've asked you a lot of questions, would you like to ask me some questions? And I had no questions to ask of the Rebbe. I thought that this was a wonderful meeting that we had just now had, and I said, no, thank you. And the fellow who was with me said, well, yes, I've spent a Shabbos or 2 here in the Crown Heights, courtesy of this young man that I know from Lubavitch. And I hear all kinds of wonder stories about you. I hear that you know better than the doctor whether there should be surgery or not. You know better than the lawyer which way to proceed with a case. Do you know more medicine than the doctors? Do you know more law than the lawyers? I mean, what kind of thing is this? So the Rebbe smiled, and he said, you know, when a house gets built, the architect draws up a blueprint. He gives the blueprint to the contractor, and then the contractor tells the plumber how to do the plumbing, the mason how to do the masonry, the electrician how to do the electricity, the electrical work. He said it's not that the contractor can do it better than everybody, but he can read the blueprint, and that's why he can give the instructions. So he said, Hashem is Taka Baraisa Bara Alma, the blueprint of the world is the Torah. So if somebody can understand the Torah, he can tell other people what they have to do within their own métier.
So that is true knowledge. The Rebbe's advice stems from the conviction that everything is ultimately sourced in the Torah. You have a nice additional readings here as well on page 21. Next week, we'll talk about the importance of family, and just a little review for today. Remember, you go to myjli.com/Rebbe, and this is where you can find the videos and slideshow and all other stuff that we showed today. This is
Lesson 1. Meaning at work.
Review.
1. People consulted with the Rebbe regarding all areas of life in the belief that his advice stemmed from a deep understanding of the Torah. 2. Work is not just a necessary means of obtaining a livelihood to sustain more elevated achievements, but it has inherent value and purpose. God designed the world in a way that we are forced to spend the majority of our time engaged in work, because bringing holiness and Torah values into the mundane workplace is the ultimate purpose of creation. 3. The workplace also affords us unique opportunities to inspire others to be better people. And earning money enables us to partner with God by giving charity to others. 4.
The Rebbe was critical of retirement, seeing that work is our means of fulfilling our life purpose. 5. Spiritual investment holds the secret to success in all areas of life, including financial. The Rebbe emphasized the importance of faith in God, Shabbat observance, setting aside time for Torah study, and giving charity as keys to financial success.
All right, we'll see you all next week, same time, same place. Thank you so much. What?